So how do you increase sales? How do you shorten the sales cycle? How do you create a better impact? How do you create amazing customer experiences that lead to real growth? Well, today's guest is Mark Hunter, and he's really known as the Sales Hunter. And again, you can check him out if you're listening to the podcast. Go to thesaleshunter.com. But today, welcome to the show, Mark.
Hey, thank you for having me on. This is great to be able to talk to your audience. So thank you for having me.
Well, I know, and I've been a guest on your show, and I know that you go live with Merritt Powell on LinkedIn Live on weekly on sales. So you're no shortage of people on sales. For those of you listening, he has over 300,000 followers on LinkedIn. So this is definitely the guy that understands the sales process. So first question, and again, this is not scripted. This is me off the top of the cuff. First question I want to know is, how do you define sales and selling? Like, when people come to you, is they get confused between marketing and selling, and what is that? So what do you tell someone who might be a business owner or a franchise owner or an executive that wants to increase their sales? First, as a basic understanding of sales, what is it?
Yeah, sales is about helping others see and achieve what they did not think was possible. It's not a transfer of money. Okay, that's a byproduct. It's not a transfer of a product. That's a byproduct. It's really about helping others see and achieve what they did not think was possible. That's what sales is all about.
All right. So what do you see? There's been a lot of changes in the economy, in the workflow and the supply chain. We've got different generations in the marketplace with Gen Z, Gen Y, millennial, traditionalists, boomers, the connected generation, and now there's Gen A. Forget the labels. But what are some of the challenges you see facing, sales, and both B2B and B2C sales? So business to business and business to consumer. What are some of the challenges you see?
Yeah, here's the big difference is we as sales. Well, first of all, we're all in sales. I don't care what your title is. I don't care what business you own. I don't care what your role is, whatever it is that you do. We are all in sales. We're all selling something. That 2-year-old baby is selling something. What are they selling? They're selling time. They want attention from their parents. That everybody's selling. Here's what it comes down to. It comes down to realizing that it's not about you, but it's about the customer. And again, B2B, B2C, it's about the customer. And I was just on the phone earlier with the VP of sales, and he was going on and on and on and on. And I said, hold it. Customers don't wake up in the morning and say, oh, I want to be different. Now,
right.
Where this stemmed from was he said, well, our salespeople always like talking about the differences. Well, first of all, people don't wake up in the morning and say, man, I want to be different. No, they just want to succeed. They just want to get through the day. And what we first have to understand is we have to put ourselves into the shoes of the customer. And that means earning the right to be able to communicate with them. What is that all about? That's about creating a level of trust and integrity. Because otherwise, whatever it is we have to say, we don't believe. Look at the various big name brands out there. Some of them we trust. We trust brands, but there's other brands like certain cable companies and so forth. We don't trust at all. Why? Because they haven't earned our trust. So before your message can resonate, and I don't care what generation you're in, and this is the other problem, because different generations view different things differently. And that's what's absolute key. If you look at somebody over the age of 50 or 60, they just want to know, are you talking to me at my level? Well, guess what? That's the same thing that somebody under the age of 30, under the age of 20 is looking for. Are you talking to me at my level? We have to be able to communicate with them on their level, on their platforms. And guess what? That doesn't mean it's always Facebook. That doesn't mean it's always TikTok. That doesn't mean it's always Instagram. You've got to line up to where your customers are at. But more importantly than that is you have to establish that level of trust. And when you create trust, then you create integrity. Now your message can begin to resonate.
Yeah, and I really believe, for those of you listening, look, I know that most people have heard what sales are and what the challenges are. But really, if you think about it, we don't own our brands anymore. Our brands are owned in the mind of our prospects and customers. We can influence it, but we don't own it. And as far as the sales process, I know that things have certainly changed over there's some fundamentals of selling hasn't changed. Like, you have to build rapport, and you have to build trust, and you have to uncover needs. And, there's a certain sales processes, the tactics, as I would say, the tactics and the fundamentals. Those are always something people should be practicing and improving. what I see has changed in the landscape, and I know that we've talked about this, is how that is communicated and the language that's used, the types of messaging, and that's where social proof comes into play. So for me, as a digital marketer and a keynote speaker on, business, I always look at their digital footprint. I want to make sure that if someone says, hey, you should do business with Mark, the first thing I'm going to do is Google you. If someone wants to do business with me, they're going to Google me. So that's going to build the trust. But then the next thing is what happens when they get on the phone, and the old sales tactics of reduced to the ridiculous. Look, Mr. Prospect, it's only this much a year. And if you break it down, it's the price of a coffee. Okay. That used to work, and it might work in certain circles, but authentic communication is really what it comes down to. So I'm curious, do you have a process or a strategy or a formula or a methodology on how you can help salespeople be more authentic instead of just the crap or the that they use?
Yeah, what it comes down to, and you hit it on the head, what's the digital footprint? I always say that your reputation arrives before you do. Nobody talks to anybody, nobody does business with anybody, I don't care what it is, without first checking you out on the internet. You made the comment, in the intro that I've got 300,000 followers. That's part of on LinkedIn alone. That's part of my digital footprint. What does that do? That gives me a certain level of credibility when I'm talking to my audience. You have to establish yourself as being a credible authority in whatever digital platform you choose to use. Now, here's the whole key piece, though. And again, you touched on it very well. It's not what we believe our brand is. It's what our customer believes. And it's not just what they believe, but it's what they say. And this is where it's so key. One of the key things about sales process that I like to use is I want to get you, the customer. I want to get you, the customer, telling me verbally, what is it that you like about what it is that we do? What is it that you like about our brand? What is it that you like about our business, whether it be a restaurant, whether it be a print shop, whether it be a bicycle shop, whether it be a dry cleaner, whatever it might be, a financial planner. But if I can get you to communicate that verbally, now here's what happens. When you communicate it verbally, you believe it a lot more. You believe it a lot more. And then the next words out of my mouth are going to resonate more with you because you just affirmed by verbally saying that my business, my brand, whatever it is I do, is worthwhile. So my whole objective is I've got to get you going down that path. How do I do that? I get going down that path by, first of all, just asking you basic questions. And this is where so many salespeople go, right? I let the customer drive. Whoa, what did he just say? I said, yeah, I let the customer drive. I let the customer drive the sales process because they know where they want to go, right? Now, I'm going to keep them within the guardrails. I'm going to keep them on the road. They're not going to go off the cliff. But I'm going to let them share, which means I'm going to pose that question, and I'm just going to engage you again. Tell me more. Help me understand more. And I don't care if this is B2B. I don't care if this is B2C. This could be a wait staff person waiting on a table, in a restaurant. I want to engage the customer because what happens? The more the customer's talking, the more they like me, the more they're willing to accept who I am.
Okay. So one of the things I recommend when I work with clients is to create a sales dictionary. And the sales dictionary is a way for them to identify all the pain points that they solve and what people are willing to pay to make go away. Whether it's a personal brand or a franchise brand or an executive or manufacturer, doesn't matter. If you're going to sell something, you have to really get a list, do a brain dump. So for those of you listening, whether you're watching us live right now on Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok, or well, not live on TikTok, but we're definitely on every other platforms and promote it out there. I recommend you put comments below. We'll do our best to answer them because this is live. And what I would tell you is, create a sales dictionary first, dump down all the challenges that your audience or your target market faces, get clarity on who your ideal client customer is, and then make a list of your prospecting questions. So when I work one-on-one with brands, that's the first place I start. If I'm doing sales training, I first want to know, what do they say? How do they introduce themselves? And most of the time, Mark, they just get it wrong. They say, well, I'm a representative for XYZ company, or I'm a distributor, or I work for a distributor who does this. They start telling me tactically what the company does instead of selling me the result, right? I mean, I want them to say they help their pain go away. So for me, when I'm selling, and again, we've shared the stage at different conferences around the globe. When I'm selling my presentation or my keynote, and my keynote right now is 25 grand. And if someone's going to spend 25,000, they're not spending $25,000 for 45 to 90 minutes. They're spending that for the results. And the results that they want are in my case, if it's franchising, they want to increase the franchise relationships. They want to increase the number of leads, the exposure, the local marketing. They want to increase volume. They want to improve their workforce. So they want a result. And the results are emotional and tangible. So back to the thing before you respond, I want whatever they're selling, whether it's retail sales or wholesale sales or outside sales or inside sales, it doesn't matter. I want them to come up with a list of questions that they can then ask the prospect that uncovers the pain. And for those of you listening, Mark said it. He said, tell me more. How has that impacted you? Because the more that the prospect explains what their challenges are, then I can dig deeper and say, well, what does that cost you? What does it cost you in turnover? What's it cost you in brain trust? What's it cost you in relationships? What's it cost you, blah, blah, blah. And you can dig deeper. So for those of you listening, create a sales dictionary, create a list of your pain points, make a list of your ideal clients, and make a list of your probing questions. Your thoughts on that? That's a lot to unpack, but that what gives you some things to do.
Yeah, I love that. I tell you what, this is so good. You and I are singing from the same hymn book. Here's a couple pieces. Remember, every buying decision is an emotional decision, whether it's B2C or B2B. It is emotional. And one of the things that I found is I want to visually paint the picture. When I visually paint the picture by telling a story, what am I doing? I'm allowing you to connect with me. I'm allowing you to relate to me. And when I visually paint the story, it's amazing how you begin casting your own story, your own visual picture in your mind. And guess what? Then I can begin to get you to share that. And what is it doing? It's creating a conversation. The more conversation that occurs between the two parties, the greater the likelihood of a sale actually happening. Because why? Because the salesperson is beginning to understand what the needs are, and what I like to say, the outcomes. You sell your keynote for 25,000. You're right. Nobody. Well, gee, that's 45 minutes. You know how much that works out to a minute?
It's crazy. Irrelevant. They're not paying for the time; they're paying for the result. Right.
Right. It's the outcome. When those people leave that conference, what is going to be the significant difference that they're going to make in their business because of listening to Ford Saeks?
Right.
That's the outcome.
Right.
That's where we hone in on.
For me, they want increased influence. They want to build the subscribers. They want to shorten the sales cycle. They want to increase leads. They want to improve volume of new and repeat sales and create a referral culture. Now that's a lot. I know I talk fast. This is not a keynote, everybody. This is a conversation on a live stream and a podcast. So just to be clear, this is also the podcast for the Business Growth Show, available on your favorite platform. But Mark, I want to ask you some questions about this. So my philosophy, and we can disagree. My philosophy is the more closely that a salesperson can articulate that they understand the challenges facing that prospect, the sale's already made. So a lot of people think they have to sell by doing a product demo and talking about the features and the differentiators, like you said. I think the first step is getting alignment that lets the prospect know that you understand their pain points. So for me, if I'm working with a franchise brand, I'll say, and I know you and I both have done this, I'll say, okay, Mr. Brand, whatever the brand is, whether they're a small franchise of under 100 units or all the way up to, someone that has like 45,000, I've worked with both. And what I tell them is I understand, I'll ask them probing questions, and I'll say, well, you know what, I'll ask the prospecting questions, but then I'm also prepared to answer it. So one of the things is you want the sales dictionary, you want the probing questions, but you also have to be skilled in how to answer that question in the event that prospect doesn't answer it. So if I say, so Mark, on a scale of 1 to 10, are you experiencing more turnover than you want? Yes. What would number? 7. Have you calculated out how much it costs you every time you lose a key employee? No. Oh, well, research shows, or when I work with clients like yours, so you have to be ready to answer those questions. And so make sure you have the probing questions, make sure you understand how to answer probing questions. So to finish that thought on the franchising, in franchising, it's no secret. Franchisors want their franchisees to take personal accountability for their local area marketing, which is why I wrote the book Accelerate, right? So for those of you, shameless plug in the middle of this event, let me push the button out here. So I wrote the book Accelerate specifically for that, how to maximize local marketing and boost sales, right? And so I did that for that reason, because the franchisor wants the franchisee to take personal accountability and follow their systems. And the franchisee wants the franchisor to make the phone ring or drive business in. And it's like, okay, the franchisor has its responsibility, but it's an independent business. You still have to do the work. All right. So unpack that mess that I just dumped on the table.
Yeah, I mean, we could run here for hours.
I know. I said, and you told me you have your podcast coming up in about 30 minutes. So I know we have only so much time.
How many times have we seen a franchisee buy into a franchise and they expect that the franchisor is going to bring them all
every single time?
Right. Every single time they think, well, this is the reason I got this, and I don't know why this isn't working out. Well, it's up to you to go get the business. Okay. Now here's the whole situation though. If you don't understand those outcomes, and you again went down a great path. One of the things that I love to say, I'm talking to a customer, I'm talking to somebody, and they say, I go, you know what? I've worked with a number of other companies very similar to yours. I worked with other people very similar to you, and they've said kind of the same thing. And here's what and now what am I doing? I'm telling a story, I'm visually painting a picture, and I'm affirming that this is not my first rodeo. So what does that do? That has you feeling a lot more comfortable about who I am and how I can help you. Now, here's one of the challenges that we have. I want to go back up the bus. Let's back up the bus all the way back up to the beginning, because you said, so many times we go in and we, hi, I'm the regional yada yada.
Right? They talk about the title and the company, not what they do.
And and we've been in business for 65 years. We got 18,000 locations. Who cares? Who cares? Your mother doesn't even care. And this is where salespeople go awry. And this is why so many customers don't like dealing with salespeople.
Yeah, because bad salespeople have given sales a bad name. That's for sure.
Yes, because the salesperson is not talking. No, they're not shutting up and listening to the issues that the customer has. And the problem is, the customer initially, I mean, the example I love to use, you walk onto a car lot and the salesperson says, so, hey, what brings you in today? Well, I'm here to pick up a head of lettuce and 2 gallons of milk. Liar, liar. Of course, I'm here to buy a car. I'm here to look at cars. But generally what happens is, because there's no relationship, the first words out of the customer's mouth is basically a bold-faced lie, because there's no trust that's established. If we want to speed up the sales process regardless of what it is that we sell, and also sell without having to negotiate or less negotiation, we have to first establish that level of trust. In the absence of trust, price is everything. Think about that for a moment. In the absence of trust, price is everything. If we establish trust, price is totally irrelevant. I mean, how many of us go into Starbucks and pay $18 for a cup of coffee? It's way too much money. But we do it because of the experience and really the confidence that we have that, it's going to be the right product that we want. We know it's too much money. I'd go to Waffle House and buy the same thing for probably $1.29, but I don't go into Waffle House because, again, the brand has established themselves. But however, if I walk into the Starbucks and the barista treats me rudely, and conversely, I'll walk into a Waffle House and whoever is there treats me with eloquence and respect. Guess what? You see, at the end of the day, it's that front line communication. It's that front line person that is going to make or break your business, regardless of whatever business it is you're in. Treat your people right, because you know what? If they aren't buying into the concept, not of what you sell, but of the outcomes you create, the Starbucks barista, do they really believe that their drinks are worth $18? No, but they believe in the experience that they create for the customer. And that's what has them communicating and dialoguing at the level that they do. Same thing with Chick-fil-A. Same thing with any of these major consumer brands where you see frontline people interfacing with the customer at a level that's just at the next level up.
It's interesting because you say trust before price. I'm known for saying, well, not this is nothing new, everybody. I mean, it's anybody who's in business knows this, but deliver value before price, right? Because if someone calls me as a speaker or calls you as a speaker and says, "Hey, Mark, we're interested in having you at our annual conference. We want to have a program on sales. What's your price?" If you give them a price, well, first of all, you just showed that you don't know and understand sales, but you always want to establish value before price. So just for the record, anybody listening or watching, when someone asks you a price question, it's not a price question. It's a value question. They're trying to determine what value or what problem, how are you going to help me? So just make sure you're taking your notes. I know people on my show take notes. I want you to make sure that you always deliver value before price. And if you do not have the sales you want, if you don't have the leads you want, if you don't have the conversions that you want, if you don't want to, if you don't have the package or the increase the average transaction, if you're not getting the referrals you want, then you're not communicating it through multiple means, whether it's just marketing and sales. But that's just why the book I wrote says maximize local marketing, because franchises are a local market as opposed to a national chain. But if you're a national manufacturer or distributor, it still applies. So the lesson here is, if you don't have the conversions of suspects to prospects to qualified leads to clients or customers to advocates, you're not communicating it, and you need to step back and map out your sales journey, because there's all these people who talk about the customer journey and the customer experience, and those are buzzwords that are thrown around, so they're just thrown around, and I use them too. They're in my book. I use them, but you have to know, how does that translate? And really, that's just a fancy way for saying, map it out. How do people get involved with you? Like me, I'm on your show. Why? Because you're going to expand it out to more people. Why are you on my show? Is now I'm introducing you to more markets. It's value for value. And we're using our podcast and live shows to build our brand authority and deliver good value. That we're not here just selling anything here, right? But it's to make sure there's value. So the action step is, make sure that if you don't have, you need to go back and mystery shop yourself and find out. So I want to anchor one more thing. So I went to a franchise last night. I won't say who it is because someday I might speak for them and I don't want it on the internet. But I went in, and the last time I got the tortilla chips were stale. Okay, I ordered chips and guac, and the chips were unedible. They were just so stale and flimsy and oily and just crap. And so when I was checking out, they said, "Is there anything else you'd like?" I said, "Well, I just want to let you know, last time I was here, the chips were really bad." And you know what the person did? They took their shoulders and went like this. And I said, and so then it kind of, all I wanted was acknowledgement. All they had to say is, "Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't looking for anything for free." All they had to say is, "Hey, I'm sorry you had experience that way. That's not our typical standard. Will you give us an opportunity to do it again?" Or here, I really didn't want anything for free. I just, as a business owner, felt like they should know. So now they shrug their shoulders. Well, now it's all in, right? So now I'm like, okay, we're going here. So then I said, "Hey, can I talk to your manager?" And of course, she points to the person down the line, and they're busy. So they come over. "What do you need?" And I said, "Well, I started explaining this." So this becomes a 10-minute conversation where the guy's arguing with me. "Well, what was wrong? What day did you come in? When was this?" And I just thought to myself, these people, and I was probably more vested because of what I do for a living. I just, because as a business owner myself, and I've owned multiple companies, I would cringe if going back to what you said, those front line people aren't, they are representing your brand and your business. So how are your phones being answered? And a lot of times, unfortunately, they're the lowest paid people. They're the least trained, the least supported. They're overworked. They're underpaid. So for full disclosure, if you're one of those people, I'm not bashing you, but how you show up is how you perform. So if you have a belief that you're underpaid and overworked, you're probably not going to deliver great service. So before I go off on another tangent, action step, mystery shop your brand, mystery shop your business, check your phone, check your voicemail, look at your Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Google business listing. Look at your business reviews. Look what's online when so Google your digital footprint, but then also fill out your lead forms, use a mystery shop name, and see how long it takes. So I don't know about you, but I have my messages marked going to my cell phone. So if someone fills out a form on my website, it goes straight as a text message, because we both know prospects are sitting in front of their computer filling out forms, and they're going to go with the first person that calls them back, or at least to have that conversation. So what do you do? And I have a couple questions on overcoming objections, but how do you see that impacting the people in the organizations you work with?
Oh, huge. I got to tell you a frontline customer service story from my own life.
Sure.
I'm
Let's
16
have
years of
it.
age. 16 years of age. I'm working at McDonald's restaurant. In fact, I was the swing shift manager at Lacey McDonald's. I was proud. I wore the red hat. And it's a slow afternoon. And there are two large gentlemen. I mean, these guys are like 6'6", 250, 275. They're up at the front counter and they're starting to yell at the cashier up front.
Sure.
And okay, I've got the manager hat on. I got to go handle the situation. I go up there, and this one guy is holding this burger, and he goes, "I know you guys are cheap. I can't believe how cheap you are. You guys are cheap, cheap, cheap. I have looked everywhere, and I can't find the meat." Basically, he had gotten a burger without any meat in it. And I, in my wonderful wisdom as a smart aleck, 145 pounds, dripping wet, afraid I'm going to get my lights punched out, I say, "Did you look under the pickle?" Needless to say, it broke the laughter. I mean, we all cracked up laughing. I mean, I thought I was going to get my clock clean. But, what did it taught me? It taught me a few things. Just listen to the customer and take care of them. And definitely, I comped their meal, got them more than just a cheeseburger, got them whatever they wanted, took care of them. But this is the whole thing. Frontline people, you have to listen to the customer and respect them for what they said. I should have had my clock cleaned for saying, "Did you look under the pickle?" Thank goodness we all thought it was funny.
Well, and it's funny, and it is. You just need to. It's like Shep Hyken talks about for the customer experience: acknowledge, accept responsibility, and take action. Right.
Right.
And, okay.
Right.
All they had to say is, "Wow, I'm sorry that happened. Here's the business card to the manager, or here's the survey." Now that wouldn't have been ideal, but at least I would have felt like they gave a crap, right? And then,
right.
But to just the lack of caring and so I feel for those organizations that are struggling to try to find employees, and right now it's battlefield promotions, right? The people on the front line, they're responsible. So whether you're selling at a quick serve restaurant or a fast casual or first service dining, or whether you're in a manufacturing business and you're trying to sell parts, doesn't matter. It's that give a crap. I don't want to say the wrong word on my own show, but it's they need to just care. And so it comes from training. And that's why, pardon me, that's why training is so important for organizations. And yes, we're promoting ourselves and what we do, but it's also, look, organizations that have training, regardless of who it is, we've got all of our colleagues in the National Speakers Association, and there's hundreds of thousands more that aren't in the National Speakers Association. The key is the purpose of training is community and engagement and skills. So yes, you want to improve skill sets and mindset, and you want to do that, but it's also organizations that invest in their employees that have training. They stay longer and they stay engaged because it helps them with meet their needs of personal growth and contribution. So, but I want to ask you about overcoming. Yeah, say that, and then I want to ask you a couple questions on overcoming objections.
Real quick. I mean, QSR restaurants, fast serve, whatever. Here's the deal: the frontline people will treat the customer the same way they're being treated by.
Oh, isn't that true? Isn't it true that how if they? True. It's so true. And we go in and try to do training, and they say, "Well, we only want you to train the staff." And I'm like, "Wait a second here. You got to have the whole organization on the same page."
Yeah, I'm going to invest in my managers, my floor managers, who's running the kitchen, who's running the floor. I'm going to invest in those managers, because once they get to communicate, because how they act is how their frontline people are going to act to the customers. Okay. Anyway,
that's not in any way. That's the key takeaway. So for those of you running an organization, training starts from top down, and what gets rewarded gets repeated. And you have to show examples of what success looks like. So the bottom line is there's opportunities. And if you're not getting the sales you want, I mean, I have the same, I'm speaking to myself. If I don't have the sales I want, I have to realize, okay, what action steps am I not taking? I don't have 300,000 people. So on LinkedIn yet. So I have to ask myself, okay, what's Mark doing that's allowing him to accelerate his growth? And how do I mirror and learn from that? All right. So question, since this is about sales, what are some of your strategies for overcoming objections? So in sales, there's always rejection, and a lot of people have approach avoidance. They would rather put a fork in their eye than make a sales call. What do you recommend, or where should someone go? What should they read, do on how to overcome sales objections?
Well, of course, it starts with every book that I've ever written, but
right.
So
what's the best book? If there was one book,
well, the best book for people not in sales is A Mind for Sales.
Okay,
because it starts. First of all, you know, if you read a book for A Mind for Sales, you'll realize that there's no such thing as a born salesperson. It's only about a conversation. All you're doing is having a conversation. And here's what I tell business owners, franchise, anybody I'm working with: you have to believe in the outcomes that you are able to create. And you have an obligation. And the obligation is this: if you have the ability to help someone, you owe it to them to reach out to them. Let me give you an example. Ford will say that I've got a problem. Yeah, I've got quite a few problems. And Ford, you had a solution. You had a solution for it. I would hope that you reach out to me, even if you didn't know me. I would hope that you contact me. Because if I were to find out later that you had the potential answer I was looking for, I'd be upset at you. Mm-hmm. See, so this thing, once you identify who your ideal customer profile is, who are your ideal customers, you owe it to them to reach out to them. And when you reach out to them, it's just a conversation. Now, keep in mind, they're not expecting your call. They didn't, you know, I didn't wake up this morning saying, wow, I hope Ford Saeks calls me today. No,
right. No one does. Yeah.
No one does.
My wife, maybe. So,
yeah. Well, we won't go down that path.
Yeah.
And again, I'm undoubtedly going to be interrupting you, whether I'm sending you an email, a text message, whether it be a phone call, whether it be
sales is a professional interrupter. Yeah, just like I just did.
It is, and it's also a piece that I'm going to get rejected a lot. But you know what? I don't care about being rejected, because at the end of the day, if what I have done if I've been able to help someone and influence and impact them in a positive manner, then I've had a good day.
That's fantastic.
I have had a good day.
Awesome.
And to me, that's what I wake up every morning with, my goal being to be able to influence and impact people. And if you can do that from whatever position you're in, that's a great day. The ability to sell is, go back to the definition, to help others see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. But I don't know how I can help you until I get to know you.
That's right.
So
you can't subscribe to diagnose.
It's that whole conversation. Just have that initial conversation. I got to talk with you. Then we establish the trust, and then you're going to begin to share with me what it is. And then I can begin. And again, if nothing comes of it, it's okay. Here's what I like. I may not be able to help you directly myself, but if I can refer you to somebody else who could, hey, guess what? That's a great day. I'm liking that. I love, of course, getting referrals, but I love giving referrals.
Yes, you've been very gracious.
What am I doing? I'm helping the customer.
Right.
And I'm helping the person who I referred them to. That's a double win. You know, again, sales is about creating this community of people where we're all lifting each other up. We're all supporting one another. And we all have to realize this simple fact: 95% of the people we talk to aren't going to get our message initially. And that's okay. That's okay. But why does Coca-Cola advertise so much? Everybody knows what a Coca-Cola is. But they advertise time and time again. They spend billions of dollars a year on advertising because they have to continue to reinforce the message.
Right.
I guess that means that we have to continue to reinforce the message. Yeah.
That's true. Well, thank you. This has been another episode of Fordify Live. Join us Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Central Time on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, and your favorite podcast platforms on the Business Growth Show. So thanks again, Mark, for having me, and I'm looking forward to being a guest on your show. If you're listening to the podcast, that's Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter, at thesaleshunter.com. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.